What if the next global power shift wasn't announced, wasn't debated, but happened quietly through energy? Right now, something is unfolding that could reshape global influence in ways most people haven't even noticed yet. A strategic move, a calculated partnership. A deal between two nations rising fast on the world stage, India and South Africa. At first glance, it might seem like just another agreement. But look closer and you'll see something far bigger, because this isn't just about energy. It's about control, it's about access. It's about who holds the power in a world where energy defines everything from economies to geopolitics. And while Europe is still trying to stabilize its energy future, India and South Africa may have just changed the game entirely. The question is, what exactly is happening behind the scenes? And why does it have the potential to shake global power structures? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change how you see the world. Welcome to the African Spotlight for 7. To truly understand the significance of this deal, we have to step back and look at the global energy landscape. In recent years, the world has experienced one of the most unstable periods in modern energy history. Supply chains have been disrupted, prices have surged unpredictably, and nations have been forced to rethink their entire approach to energy security. For Europe, the situation has been particularly intense. For decades, Europe relied heavily on external sources for energy, especially natural gas. This dependency worked well. Until it didn't, geopolitical tensions, sanctions, and shifting alliances exposed just how vulnerable that system really was. Suddenly, countries that once enjoyed stable energy supplies found themselves scrambling. Factories slowed down, energy bills skyrocketed. And governments faced growing pressure from both industries and citizens. Energy was no longer just a commodity, it became a matter of national security. And while Europe focused on short-term survival, other nations began thinking long-term. India's rise has been nothing short of extraordinary, with a population exceeding 1 billion people and an economy expanding at a rapid pace. India's demand for energy is growing at an unprecedented rate. Every new factory, every expanding city, every technological advancement, everything requires power. But here's the challenge: India's domestic energy production simply cannot keep up with its demand. And that creates a critical vulnerability. So India has made a strategic decision, one that defines its global approach. Instead of relying on uncertain markets, it secures long-term partnerships. Across Africa, the Middle East, and beyond, India has been building relationships that ensure steady, reliable access to resources. But this deal with South Africa, this is not just about supply. South Africa is often viewed through a limited lens focused on its internal challenges. But beneath that narrative lies something far more powerful. South Africa is rich in natural resources, from minerals to energy potential. It sits at a crucial geographical position, connecting major global trade routes. And it has the infrastructure to support large-scale industrial activity. More importantly, it has opportunity. For years, South Africa has been searching for ways to stabilize its energy sector, attract investment, and unlock its full economic potential. Enter India. What India brings to the table is not just demand but investment, technology, and long-term commitment. And when those elements come together, they create transformation. So what exactly are India and South Africa doing? At its core, this agreement focuses on energy cooperation, but its implications extend far beyond that. This partnership includes development of energy infrastructure, investment in extraction and processing, expansion of trade routes, collaboration in renewable energy, strengthening of economic ties. This is not a short-term arrangement. It's a strategic alliance, and strategic alliances don't just affect the participants, they reshape entire regions. Because when two nations align their interests so closely, they begin to move as one. Europe is not ignoring this development. In fact, it's paying very close attention. Because this deal introduces a new layer of competition in a region that Europe has long relied on for resources. Africa has always been an important partner for European nations. But now, emerging powers like India are stepping in not as passive participants, but as active competitors. And that changes everything, because resources are finite. Access is limited, and influence must be earned. If India secures long-term agreements and strengthens its presence in key regions, it could redirect supply chains in ways that leave Europe at a disadvantage. This isn't just about economics, it's about influence. For decades, global power was concentrated among a few dominant regions, but today, that balance is shifting. Emerging economies are no longer content to follow established systems, they are building new ones. India and South Africa represent a broader trend, countries working together to create alternatives to traditional structures. This shift is subtle, but powerful, because it doesn't happen overnight. It happens through deals like this: quiet, strategic, and impactful. Energy is only valuable if it can be transported efficiently. And that brings us to one of the most critical aspects of this partnership: trade routes. South Africa's location places it near one of the most important maritime pathways in the world. Control or even influence over these routes provides significant advantages. For India, this means faster access to resources, reduced costs, and increased reliability. For South Africa, it means becoming a central hub in global trade, and for the rest of the world, it means a shift in how goods and power move across the globe. This deal is part of a larger movement often referred to as South-South cooperation. In simple terms, it means developing nations working together to support each other's growth without relying on traditional Western systems. This approach is gaining momentum. Countries are sharing resources, investing in each other, and building networks that prioritize mutual benefit. And the results are starting to show, because when nations collaborate as equals, they create stronger, more resilient systems. One of the most exciting aspects of this partnership is its focus on the future. Both India and South Africa are investing heavily in renewable energy. Solar farms, wind energy projects, green technology initiatives. This is not just about solving today's problems, it's about preparing for tomorrow. As the world transitions away from traditional energy sources, those who invest early will lead. And this deal positions both nations at the forefront of that transition. The economic impact of this partnership cannot be overstated. For South Africa, it means increased investment, job creation, infrastructure development, economic growth. For India, it means energy security, stable supply chains, strategic influence, and for the global economy, it introduces a new dynamic, one that could redefine trade patterns and economic relationships. Africa is entering a new phase. For years, it has been viewed primarily as a source of raw materials, but that perception is changing. Countries across the continent are recognizing their value and leveraging it. This deal is a clear example of that shift. Africa is no longer waiting, it is acting. So what does all of this mean? It means the world is changing, not dramatically, not overnight, but steadily. Power is becoming more distributed, influence is becoming more competitive, and new alliances are shaping the future. What makes this partnership so powerful isn't just what's visible. It's what's happening quietly in the background. Because while headlines focus on agreements and announcements, the real strategy is unfolding behind closed doors through planning, coordination, and long-term vision. India isn't just securing energy, it's building influence. Every investment, every infrastructure project, every partnership adds another layer to a much larger strategy, one that positions India as a central player in global energy networks. And South Africa, it's not just participating. It's positioning itself as a gateway between continents, a gateway between markets, a gateway between the present and the future of energy. This is not random, this is calculated. Energy has always been more than just fuel, it is leverage. Countries that control energy resources or the flow of those resources hold significant power on the global stage. They influence prices, they shape policies, they impact economies far beyond their borders. And that's exactly why this deal matters. Because when India and South Africa align in this space, they don't just gain economic benefits, they gain strategic leverage. Leverage that can influence negotiations, leverage that can shape markets, leverage that can redefine relationships between nations. For a long time, Europe held a strong position in global energy dynamics, but today, that position is evolving. The rise of new partnerships means that Europe is no longer the only major player seeking access to resources. Competition is increasing, options are expanding for everyone. And that creates a new reality, a reality where influence must be maintained, not assumed. A reality where access must be negotiated, not guaranteed. And in this new landscape, every deal matters. Let's go deeper into something often overlooked: logistics. Because energy is not just about where resources exist, it's about how they move. Shipping lanes, ports, and transportation networks play a critical role in determining who benefits from energy resources. South Africa's location gives it a unique advantage. It sits near key maritime routes that connect major global markets. By strengthening ties with South Africa, India is not just securing resources, it's strengthening its access to these routes, and that creates efficiency. Faster delivery, lower costs, greater reliability. In global trade, these advantages can make all the difference. What we are seeing here is not just a traditional agreement. It represents a new model of partnership, a model built on mutual benefit, long-term planning, shared growth. Instead of one side dominating the other, both nations contribute and gain. This approach is becoming more common among emerging economies, and it's changing how global cooperation works. Because partnerships like this are not based on dependency. They're based on alignment. Another key element of this deal is technology. Energy is evolving rapidly. New methods of extraction, new forms of renewable energy, and new systems for distribution are transforming the industry. India brings technological expertise. South Africa brings resources and opportunity. Together, they can accelerate innovation, and innovation leads to efficiency. Efficiency leads to growth, and growth leads to influence. When a deal of this scale happens, its impact doesn't stay contained. It spreads, markets respond, investors take notice. Other nations begin to reassess their strategies. This creates a ripple effect. Countries that once relied on certain supply chains may begin looking for alternatives. New partnerships may emerge, and competition increases. This is how global systems evolve, not through one event, but through a series of interconnected changes. There is a broader story unfolding here, one that goes beyond any single country. Africa is entering a period of strategic awakening. Nations across the continent are beginning to recognize their collective value. Resources, location, population, all of these factors contribute to Africa's growing importance. And instead of being passive participants, African nations are becoming active decision makers. They are choosing their partners, they are shaping their futures. They are defining their roles in the global system. This deal is part of that larger movement. Of course, no major shift comes without challenges. Partnerships of this scale require strong governance, effective coordination, long-term commitment. There are risks involved. Economic fluctuations, political changes, global uncertainties, but with risk comes opportunity. And nations that manage these challenges effectively often emerge stronger. Looking ahead, one thing is clear: the structure of global energy networks is changing. We are moving away from centralized systems toward more distributed, interconnected networks, multiple players, multiple partnerships, multiple pathways. This creates resilience. And resilience is critical in an unpredictable world. India and South Africa are positioning themselves within this new structure, and that positioning could define their roles for decades to come. So what we're witnessing is not just a deal. It's a shift in how energy is sourced, a shift in how partnerships are formed, a shift in how power is distributed. And as these changes continue to unfold, one thing becomes increasingly clear: the global landscape is being rewritten. The world you see today is not the world that will exist tomorrow. Right now, beneath the headlines, beyond the noise, something deeper is happening. Nations are repositioning, alliances are evolving, and the rules of global power are being rewritten. India and South Africa have just taken a bold, strategic step that signals a larger shift. This isn't just about energy. It's about independence. It's about influence. It's about the future. Because in a world driven by power, energy is everything. And those who control it shape the world. The real question is not whether change is coming. It's already here. The question is who will rise with it, and who will be left behind. If you want to stay ahead of global shifts like this, make sure you subscribe to Frequency Spotlight 24/7, where we don't just follow the news, we uncover what it truly means.